Towards the end of the 18th century, the British colonists in America were rebelling, and the French lent a helping hand. They provided the colonists with ammunition, supplies, naval power, and so much more. This left the French in even greater financial debt due to the aid that they provided. The peasants suffered the most from this, and with Enlightenment ideas running free, they started to grow unhappy with the king and the way they were being treated. The solution that the French king came up with was taxes. Peasants were taxed the most, while the nobles and clergymen had to pay little to no taxes. Additionally, harsh summers and winters led to bad crop yield, leaving peasants with little to eat and the price of bread skyrocketing. Upper classes weren't seriously affected by this because they had stockpile of grain. This sent the peasants over the edge and they began to riot. The king summoned the Estates General to resolve these issues. This was made of 3 estates: 1, the clergy; 2, the nobility; and 3, the peasants. The third estate made up almost 95% of France's population. However, each estate only got 1 vote. The clergy and nobility usually teamed up on the third estate. Due to this, the third estate couldn't get anything passed. The third estate did not like this and went on to form their own assembly, the National Assembly. Then they got locked out of their building, found an empty tennis court, and took the tennis court oath there, promising to keep meeting until the king agreed to their reforms. While most only wanted equality, some began to call for the removal of the king entirely. The king called up the army to come and protect them. The people of France were afraid that their king called them to arrest those trying to reform. The National Assembly created the National Guard, and people raided a military hospital to get rifles. Then they stormed a French prison, the Bastille, to get gunpowder. Soon, the National Assembly created the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen. This promised equal rights and liberty to all men. Despite this, the people of France were still starving. King Louis XVI lived away from all of this, so a large crowd of women marched on his palace and forced him to move to Paris. Soon after, the king tried to flee to Austria and raise an army to retake his country, but he was caught before he could. A new constitution reduced the king's power significantly. However, some within the Jacobean Club wanted the king removed, marking a division in the National Assembly. Other countries were worried that these revolutionary ideas would spread to them. The French were worried that other countries might attack them to stop this. So France declared war on Austria first. The French then got rid of the position of king in France and imprisoned King Louis. The now established National Convention declared France the French Republic. Those suspected of being against the revolution were being arrested. The French were worried that if the Austrians got to Paris, they would free the prisoners, and all of those who took part in the revolution would become targets. So a mob went to the prisons in Paris and started executing a lot of these prisoners, including King Louis. More countries joined Austria against France. The French were conscripting people to fight. However, not all supported the revolutionary government, and counter-revolutionary uprisings began to spring up. Many of these were put down by force. The radicals eventually took control of the government, leading to the Reign of Terror and the creation of the Committee of Public Safety. During this time, roughly 40,000 people suspected of opposing the new government were executed. This eventually stopped, with Robespierre, the most radical one, being executed and the creation of a new government, the Directory. As the war continued, Napoleon won countless battles with his strategies and almost single-handedly got Austria to surrender. Soon after, Napoleon ended up overthrowing the current government and eventually making himself essentially a dictator. Soon after which, he began trying to conquer Europe.